Welcome, everyone. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. Every week we are working to bring you the stories of people who are making a difference in the lives of others, locally, globally, and digitally. And our goal is always to make sure that by the time you leave this video, you are a little more inspired to think about cool things that are happening in the world, the potential for making a difference in the lives of others, this kind of thing. We are part of Rotary International, 1.2 million Rotarians and 200,000 Rotaractors strewn across 36,000 clubs around the world. And it is always fun to be able to share the stories of those who are working to improve lives on an individual level. And along those lines, we have with us today Tony Frascone. And Tony is a guy with a very powerful story. He has a story that is one that can help a lot of people reconnect with the things that are most important to them. And we're very excited to have him with us. Tony, welcome to the eClub of Silicon Valley.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with everyone.
And jump right in. We're excited
to
see what you get.
Ready to go? All right. Well, thank you all for having me on the call today. And whether you're on now or you see this at a later time around the world, wherever you are, I just can't thank you enough for having a platform to share what I'm passionate about. And I hope it might touch you as well. So let me jump right in here for y'all. All right. Y'all see my screen okay? Okay, great. Well, between the ages of 28 and 38 years old, I had 3 heart attacks. Believe it or not, when I was 28 years old, I had the first heart attack. And at the time I was a teacher, physical fitness teacher actually, and coaching football. And I was young, I was single, and I was doing what, mid-late 20-year-olds do, living life. And I was kind of on a career trajectory to teach and to coach. And I thought that's all I would ever do. But I had this thing happen called a heart attack there at 28. And I was faced with mortality at a really young age, all things considered. And that jolted me, as you can imagine. That was life altering. And I had to have some surgical intervention. I had some stents placed in the lining of my heart to keep my heart beating. I had a 95% blockage in one of the arteries. And I'm lucky to be here today because of the advancements in medical intervention. And during that decade of life, I'm 45 now, but as you can imagine, all of those things people might ask you when you have a health-related episode so severe, what are you eating? What were you doing at the time? All of those things that people ask because they do care. But at the same time, I think folks are wanting to reflect back on themselves to think about how can I avoid that from happening to me. So they want to ask you about, your ailments and what thing that you did that maybe had caused this. And so diving in, researching, and listening to my medical professionals, unfortunately, there was really no clear answer. Nobody in my family had a history of heart disease. And all I could find is that it's just very rare that somebody so young would have a heart episode. So I just had to deal with this thing that happened and figure out how to move on. And then another one happened, and I had to feel out how to move on from that. And another one happened. And in the course of those episodes, I did get married and started a family. And so I have 3 children. My youngest child, Poppy, was 8 months old in 2019. And we had 2 healthy boys already. They're 8 and 10 now. but never had any medical problems with any of my children. And so we went for a third child. We had a baby, a beautiful baby daughter named Poppy. And as you can see, it's a very Italian name. So my friend from Italy, I hope that resonates with you. But Poppy started showing signs of not thriving around that time. And my wife and I just thought maybe she was looking pale, not eating a ton. And so we got into the hospital, and we thought maybe she was just needed some iron or something like that and was deficient, and just a course correction of some kind. And the next thing we know, we're sitting in front of a heart surgeon, and the heart surgeon is telling us, Tony, your daughter Poppy is dying. She's not thriving, and she needs life-saving open heart surgery to fix this really very rare heart defect that she had. And as you can imagine, as a parent, I hope no parents ever have to go through that, but I know there's many who have, because I was in the hospital for quite a long time. And I met many other parents that had young infants that were having different things that can go wrong. And so it was my time to experience that. And now in the past, I had been thinking, why, God or higher power or whoever, like universe, why is this happening to me? What did I do? I'm trying to live a good life. Why do I keep having these things happen to me? And then when this happened with my daughter, I remember the first thing I thought was, take me, switch our places right now. I'll take this. She's innocent. She's perfect. And I'm the one who's, made questionable decisions or, whatever, and she's perfect and innocent. And please, let's switch spots right now. I'll do anything. And something happened when she came out of the surgery alive. And I'm happy to say that she's thriving now. She's doing very well. And she's 3 going on 4 in November. When she came out of the hospital, or when she came out of the medical room, looking as she does here in this picture, all I could do was look at her and look back at that heartbeat monitor and see the heartbeat symbol and hear the heartbeat sound. And as you can imagine, if you've been in a hospital setting, they've got you hooked up, and that's kind of the dramatic effect of being in a hospital room and hooked up to things, is that heartbeat and the sound. And I remember just looking at that and just being so fixated on it, and just praying that doesn't stop, that heartbeat keeps going. And at that moment, it hit me that if there's a heartbeat, there's a chance. No matter where you're at in life, no matter what you're going through, whether you're at a pinnacle in your life and you might not think about this thing that is happening from your subconscious work in your body that allows you to breathe and allows your heart to beat and allows functions of your body to happen without you thinking about them. Or if you're just down and you're struggling to figure out what the next step is, no matter where you're at in that framework, if your heart is beating, you've got a shot. And I've been on mission ever since that moment to share this with the world. And soon after we got Poppy back home and started moving forward again with our lives, I started writing a book called Finding Your Heartbeat. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. So there we are. I found my heartbeat. There's my daughter Poppy there. She often will show her, we call it the zipper club. She's in the zipper club, and she'll often pull, show what a beautiful scar she has on her chest. And that's how she refers to it. Look at my beautiful scar, because that's just what we've ingrained in her. And that's us on the couch watching a show at night. And that's how I love ending my day every day. If I make it back to this moment of watching a show with my daughter laying on my chest at the end of the day, it's a miracle, right? And so that's, for me, that's what Finding Your Heartbeat is all about. There's my whole family. It's my wife, Rebecca, my son, Easton, he's the older one there, and middle son, Sailor, and there's little Poppy, and that's our dog, Teddy. He's a big Newfoundland. If you've ever had, I love that kind of dog because they're very lazy and you don't have to walk them much. So that's good. But so I started on this path as I started journaling and writing about, what is leading with the heart. When we hear that, we hear so many, theological philosophers talk about the heart and connection to leadership or connection to life. It's in our books of faith, references to the heart all the time. And so it led me on this path of what is that? What is leading with the heart? What is finding your heartbeat really all about? Is it a random act of kindness? Is it just being a good human being, seeing somebody in need and offering an umbrella on a rainy day if somebody doesn't have one? Is it the free hug people? Maybe you've seen these people on the street corners or seen YouTube videos, but what propels somebody to go out there in the world and say free hugs and engage with somebody and give somebody that human connection that maybe they need? Elon Musk, polarizing figure, however you feel about the individual, if you think he's a saint and a savior, or if you think he's the devil himself. Elon Musk is a human being just like us. And although now he's trying to colonize Mars or doing these different things, bringing us electric vehicles, at one time he was just a young kid who started out getting funding for a small company venture. And he listened to feedback from customers, and they loved the fact that this platform allowed them to pay through their email. And that's where PayPal was born. And so he used the feedback that he received from others to move forward in a different direction, maybe that he had wanted to, or maybe his partners wanted him to, but he took that step and that led to PayPal. Is that leading with the heart? Taking feedback from those around us or our environment to make decisions. I love this story. Quentin Patton, back in 2013, he was a 4th round draft pick for the 49ers. And I'm a little bit of a sports guy, so this really resonated with me. Quentin, he got drafted, and can you imagine being a touted 1st round draft pick and then waiting and 1st round and 2nd round and 3rd round, and is anything gonna happen? And finally the 49ers select him. He gets on a plane, flies to the 49ers facility. And upon getting there, they told him, hey, you're breaking about 10 NFL rules. You could be sanctioned and not even allowed to play as a rookie. And they gave him a plane ticket to just go back home at that moment. But that really resonated with the head coach at the time, and it made national news because of that passion, that instantaneous excitement for something new, a new venture, that he would just put everything that he had probably in the bank to buy that ticket and just go. Is that leading with the heart? Or can sometimes our passions get ahead of us? And if we don't put things in the right order, we might run into some roadblocks and be sent back. And so all of these images I'm sharing with you in these brief stories are just to get you thinking about your own life, your own service here in the Silicon Valley Rotary International, and your role and what you're doing with your life. So in this journey, I've developed this kind of acronym related to the heart around honor, evolve, action, reach, and time. And if we can honor the fact that we have a heartbeat, the fact that we can make a decision about what we do with our time, where we're at right now. If we can evolve, if we can realize that maybe doing the same thing over and over is the definition of insanity, as we've heard many times, that maybe we need to transition and try something new. If we can then take action and actually try something, whether you fail or succeed, it's really irrelevant. It's about taking the action. It's about reaching to that next step, getting uncomfortable, and using the time that we have. Speaking of time, let me just do a quick check. I'm running a little bit long. Lastly, I just want to tell you about a quick story, a dentist in the 19th century, who, can you imagine dentistry back then? A little bit rough if you had to go to the dentist and have any work done. But a gentleman named Dr. Stent, was on a journey he was on a mission. He heard about this rare sap from a tree called Gutta perca that was used on the transatlantic cable expansion at the time. And he lived in England, and he kept experimenting with this putty on how to make an impression of somebody's mouth. Many of us have all been to the dentist and have had impressions taken, I'm sure, at this point, wherever you find yourself in the world. And it all started because of this gentleman's passion. He ended up going from just a humble practice to being the dentist to the queen at the time, Queen Victoria. Later, we have the first coronary stent. The reason I'm sitting here breathing, speaking to you today, is because I have several of these placed inside the lining of my heart. Dr. Stent's experiments back in the 1800s lasted the test of time. And the surgeons around that time that heard about this, they started using Dr. Stent to do surgeries to help keep cavities open in the human body while they did surgery. And eventually it led to a slight, a different design, a different model than a dental impression. But in honor of Dr. Stent's passion and work, that's where things led. And so I put Dr. Stent there at the end because I think honoring, evolving, taking action, reaching time, he did all of those things with the time he had to impact me 100+ years later in this world. And so if we can find our heartbeat and we know there's a chance, we have the chance to lead with heart. We have the chance to make an impact that will far outreach what you could have ever imagined. And I think about those surgeons and doctors that reached out to Dr. Stent at the time. They were doing that as well. They were trying something different. They were reaching, they were stretching, they were evolving to help people, to make things better. And ultimately, that's why you're here. That's why you're on this call. You're trying to find out nuggets in this life to help others. That's what Rotary is all about. And hopefully, wherever you are in your journey, this presentation has just helped you realize that a small thing like a heartbeat is really the start of life, and it is the gateway to everything. And so I do executive coaching, I do speaking. I've written a book called Finding Your Heartbeat. Currently it's in editing phase right now. So hopefully I'll have that as content, something I can offer in the future. And I've done several speaking engagements, and I'll be doing a TEDx talk here in the next few months in Seattle, Washington. So that's my story, and I am just honored. Thank you so much for allowing me to share it with you.
And a great story it is, Tony. Thank you very much for the time and the message. So I want to take a moment to introduce the people we have on the recording, and then once we've done that, any questions that people have, we'll use our usual format. And so Shags and Cecilia, if you have a question, feel free to just let me know in the chat, or to actually put the question in the chat and I can ask it for you either way. Joining us from Walnut Creek, California, is the club's paella master and the good soul responsible for the weekly joke and learn something new sections in our meetings. That's Shags Chagrin, right? And joining us from Italy is our treasurer, Cecilia Babkirk, and also the driving force behind our global grant for educational benefit in the small town of Soda in Ethiopia. My name is Rushton Hurley. I am the charter president of the club and the programs guy. So there you go. Tony, let me start with this question. So a lot about the issue of facing mortality means that you really begin to kind of reprioritize the things that are kind of standing in front of you and all. Are there things that you essentially just completely shelved as a result of experiencing the issues with your heart that you have? So just things that you're like, that I just don't need to spend time on that anymore. Anything along those lines?
That's a great question. I think now I would say absolutely. In this window of time, going through things like, depression, suicidal ideation, the ups and downs of you feeling like you're kind of over the hump and then having another episode happen. It was very troubling. And so the first episode in my late 20s there was definitely something that you take all the recommendations from the doctors, you eat the low-fat diet, you do all the things, you don't go through fast food anymore, you're taking the fish oil, you're drinking wine, doing all those things. And then when the second one hit, I had actually been cycling. I was at the gym and I was coming back from doing a cycling class. And so I'd been, taking my health seriously. And after that second one, it really I went on a pretty low, I experienced some lows where I just was like, what's the point of trying all this stuff and doing the quote unquote right thing? And maybe it's because deep down inside, I didn't feel like I was worth it at the time. And so, yeah, I went, I did some things, put things in my body that, probably shouldn't have. And I was pretty down there for a bit. And then the next time it had happened the last time was in 2015. And I reached this spot there where I had 2 young children. And it became more than me, a wife and a family. And at that time, I think I got over the hump a little, but still, there's still just parts of me that were hurt and scarred. And I had this inside of me to share, but it wasn't until what happened with Poppy that it really hit home and helped propel me to really see life differently.
Right. All right. So kind of related idea, a question that came in through the chat, just about symptoms. So, I think when anyone hears a story like this, they worry like, is that going to happen to me? Right. Is that happening with someone that I care for? Are there things that you've kind of learned to watch out for as you think about the kind of challenges that we can face with our hearts?
I have, yeah. And that's a great question as well. And part of the awareness just in my own circle was really impactful, because some of my friends who were young in their 20s at the time, I shared with them my feelings and what was happening to my body when I experienced this. And it propelled them as young people to go to the doctor more. My friends that are men traditionally, I think, go to the doctor maybe a little bit less. And so it propelled people that felt maybe young and healthy to go if they felt some of these symptoms. And so definitely that feeling of, I can't get my breath. I just can't, almost the feeling like after you run or you do something that exhausts yourself, but then you have the recovery and you feel like, okay, I'm recovered. It was like, I couldn't get that recovery feeling. It was just like, so that was the first thing I noticed. The second thing was shooting pains up into my jaw. I had kind of piercing pain that resonated up this way. I didn't have the traditional arm pain that I've heard, but for me, it was definitely shooting pains into my jaw, shortness of breath, and anytime I did anything remotely physical, I would feel those shooting pains and become very short in my breath, and then that's when it propelled me to finally go to the ER on that first time.
Wow. So I'm wondering, actually, as you think about the relationship between physical activity and getting a sense that you may have an issue, right? And of course, leading to a space of what's important for you. You were a coach, right? And so I'm guessing that there are elements of your experience with sport and with with coaching that have kind of led you towards a path of looking at your experiences from the standpoint of leadership as well. Is that something you can speak to?
Sure. I think, the first thing that I did, I stopped coaching football. I used to coach football and track. Football is a little bit more of a heightened, intense sport. On the sidelines, you're yelling at refs, you're yelling at the athlete that's coming off the field, you're the highs and lows of touchdowns. And so I did stop that, and I continued coaching track. But the leadership component around sharing my story to help others is really a new thing. I felt embarrassed at the time, to be honest. I felt embarrassed to talk about it. I felt anytime I was eating something that I was being watched or judged, I felt resentful at the time. And so I think part of my experience and journey, I know there's some people that are out there that have an episode like that, and it's like a switch happens and they're able to stop, they're eating just veggie greens and running every day. And that's the path they're on. And for me, it was just different to get me here to where I'm at now.
So part of that path has included the book. And so it's a particular kind of challenge to write a book. And so I'm curious how your experiences not led you to write the book. You explained that in the talk, but what kinds of things you learned about yourself in that process, writing a book about leadership?
I think the thing about book writing that I learned through the process is that if you're not experiencing pain as you write words down on the paper, if you're not sweating and thinking and remembering things that were epiphanies that have happened, that getting things out verbally is one thing. And I've done some personal work as well to help me with that, to verbalize things that I'm feeling or that I had experienced. But actually writing and journaling, through that process, something flows out of you. And so I highly encourage that as a part. I think for anyone that considers themselves a leader, they should be journaling. They should take the time to actually stop and think and write down their thoughts. Because I go back now to some of just my early writings that inspired what ended up being the book. And I don't even know who wrote that. It's just amazing that flowed out of me. And so, that was kind of the journey that I went on. And I think that when you're able to say something out loud and then share it with other people in writing, and then all of a sudden, somebody reads it and either connects with it or they have feedback for you, whatever it is, positive or negative, it's a chance to at least get out of your own head and get that third party to give you feedback.
Wonderful advice. I find that there's any number of things in my life that have gone from challenging to much better as a result of just getting something down, and then it's like offloading some of that worry that you have, or
Yes.
frustration, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, at first I remember feeling like it's got to be perfect, and I kept deleting every sentence I was writing or scribbling it out, because it's like you have this pressure, like you're going to write War and Peace in the one take or something like that. And so that it's a humbling process, but it's so valuable.
Very, very cool. All right, before we hand it back to you for a last word, what I'd like to do is to wind us down. Those of you who are watching, if you're in our club, let us know you're here, of course. That's part of the attendance piece, and leave a message both about the program and about any element of the meeting that intrigued you. If you are visiting us and you are a Rotarian, then by all means, let us know you're here, so that generates a little email that you can pass along to your club secretary for a makeup for a missed meeting in your own club. If you are trying to keep 100% attendance, which we always encourage, it's certainly not for everybody, but that getting into that pattern of getting inspired once a week is a good one for a load of reasons. We also ask that you share what you learn. So if you find the stories that we share interesting, let other people know. We're very happy for people to kind of get into our YouTube channel and take a good look around and find the many wonderful stories that we've had the privilege of hearing and passing along to people all over. So with that, Tony, I'd like to pass it back to you for the final word. What would you like people to have in mind as they finish up the recording?
For our Rotarians out there, I just really encourage you, if you're a part of Rotary for a reason. And whatever reason that's led you to maybe come here and hear this message, I just encourage you to continue to get clear on your participation in Rotary and what that means. I know for some circles, it could be you're placed on there for professional reasons. Maybe you're a committee member or you're on there to promote and you need to put that on your resume. But I think the nice thing about Rotary is it's got such a clear purpose and a vision. And so embrace it. Embrace that clear purpose and vision if you're a part of this, and see what you can do in your own circle, in your own life, to then push back out there. Rushton, when I first started this journey, Rushton was one of the first people I thought of because he has done that for me just in the past, sharing his passion around speaking with students, sharing his own platform, his own message out there with the world, and then his participation with Rotary. And so he's doing both, and he's using those passions to help here at Rotary, to lead this video component that he has in his wheelhouse. And he's also sharing that with the world, to students out there around the world. And so I just really encourage you, you have talents, you have tools that you can use in your own unique way to influence the people around you, the world around you, and here at Rotary as well. So know that you've got a heartbeat, you've got a chance to take that next step, and that's all you need.
Wonderful, and thanks. And for everyone, see you next week.